new BMW M5 CS. It's that time of the week again where there's a new car in the festival playlist, so I'm briefly going to show you how to go and win this thing if you haven't already, then have a quick look at its standard, see what upgrades and customization are available, and potentially go into some online racing. As is often the case with new vehicles, to unlock this thing, all you have to do is complete 20 points in this week's festival playlist, which is the winter season, because all of them are at this time of year. But as you can see, I've done that by doing the trial, a speed trap, photo challenge, collectibles, and the 4 monthly rivals at the beginning of the series, because they count towards all 4 of the weeks. If, however, you miss this, it's available until Boxing Day this year. I'm afraid the only way to get it will be in the auction house, which will probably cost you 20 million credits, unless it appears in Horizon Backstage one day. Speaking of Horizon Backstage, what has been added? Each week 2 new cars are added to this, so this is the current selection. And this week, what can we vote to be added? We can go for a Hyundai Envision 74, a McLaren 12C, or a DeLorean DMC12, and a Rossian. What do we want? Let's go for the DeLorean and the Rossian, I think. Back to the big boaty BMW then. Stock the M5 CS produces 626 brake horsepower, an increase of 26 over the standard M5's rather exact 600 brake horsepower. The CS is lighter too, so it's a bit less of a big BMW boat than the standard M5, bringing weight down to a still rather heavy 1,825 kilos, where the standard car is pretty much 2 tons. Just like that car, the CS is of course all-wheel drive, giving an overall performance rating of S1 827 from standard. Although the CS is sort of a cool addition to the game, and is an upgrade in performance over the standard M5, I don't feel like it's really enough of a difference to necessarily warrant adding this as well. Anyway, before we head back to the festival, let's go and do a quick drag race with the new CS against some other sort of practical, sort of fast, other overpriced things much like the BMW. For this, I am once again going to hop into a Jaguar Project 8.
Okay, I didn't know who it was, so not really an accurate test, is it?
That BMW is quick though.
I don't know how to join the game because it's greyed out.
There's no point in joining the game, Alf. We're already doing it.
Well, afterwards?
Back to the festival then. Rather disappointingly, there is only 2 colours, but I think that's the same in reality. There is the grey and the green, although I seem to remember they're both matte, are they not, in reality? Of course, we've got the bronzy bits and the bronze wheels, but more excitingly, you may have noticed that there are advanced painting options, and, well, I don't think they're quite what you would expect. Group 1, you probably would, it's just the body, that kind of makes sense. For the time being, I'll make that black so you can see what's going on. And Group 2 it's the grills and the little side strake thing, which is new. That's not been done on anything in Forza, so I may need to make something. I'm going to go with this rather lovely BMW purple that I created earlier and have put on several other BMWs, so I need to put that as Group 1. Then Group 2, as there's a lot of carbon on this car, I think I may go for carbon fibre for that, and for the wheels as well. It's a lightweight BMW, well it's not, it's an M5, but it's supposed to be a lighter version, so that kind of makes sense. Leave the red calipers because they match the interior. I think that looks rather fantastic. That's not all the visual customization though. If we go to aero and appearance, you'll see there's only Forza front aero, but interestingly it's like the style of the aero on Forza Motorsport, so potentially we'll see this in that game soon. At the rear though, we have some AC Schnitzer parts. We have a sort of painted rear wing instead of carbon, and, well, that, which is a race rear wing, and can be tuned. There's also a wing delete and that. Of course, there is also an AC Schnitzer rear bumper to match, and Forza rear aero, again, kind of like it is in motorsport, so that would lead me to believe this may come to that game eventually. There is also AC Schnitzer side skirts, and at the front, again, there are Bonic pins, kind of akin to those in Forza Motorsport, so that the front bumper and the rear bumper would lead me to believe that they're at least planning to bring this to Forza Motorsport. We will wait and see. This, by the way, is what the car looks like with the full AC Schnitzer kit applied, with the slightly larger rear wing. There are also some engine swap options. There is a 4-litre V8, 6.2-litre V8, racing 3-litre inline-6 turbo, 5.2-litre V10, and a 5-litre V10. So plenty of options there, and also a rear-wheel drive conversion if you want to make it less good. There's also all of your usual tyre compounds, tyre widths and track widths, so you could make the wheels fill your arches very nicely if you wanted to, potentially drop the suspension as well. Then you've got all of your usual drivetrain options, platform and handling options, including weight reduction that can bring weight down as low as 1,457 kilos, which isn't all that bad actually, and all of your usual engine upgrades. At this point we installed an A-Class tune from K1Z Bard, which drops power to 457 brake horsepower, but also brings weight down to 1,381 kilos, which doesn't sound too bad considering the car has been upgraded to have lost that much weight. We then headed into some Horizon Open racing. We joined in time for the second race of a series at the Cathedral Circuit, which contained no fewer than 5 of the new BMW M5 CS's, including K1Z Bard, who had made the tune that we had installed on our cars. This was the beginning of the chaos. I'm not really entirely sure what happened, but none of us were really used to the car in this first one, and I bumped into Supertree a lot. We ended up with a 3rd, 4th and 5th place finish, with another 2 of the M5 CS's occupying the top 2 places. The final race in this set was at the Descent Dorado Sprint, where the number of people using the M5 CS went from 5 to 8. I started towards the back of the field, making it past a Lotus, the only car that wasn't a BMW in the race, just after the first sharp corner, then attempted to catch up to at least one of the M5s ahead, which I didn't quite manage. This was the end of the first set of races, so at this point Supertree left. But as that hadn't been a full set, myself and Elf went into a second set, starting with a race at the Arch of Moulahay circuit. Here there was some slightly strange unghosting, with Bard slightly running into the back of my car as it happened, and then ghosting again, so somehow he hadn't hit me. Anyway, it was all fine in the end, it was just a bit weird. Jumpy then ended up in a fence, and I went up into 6th somehow. And this is where I ended up finishing the race, despite some chaos further ahead, allowing me to sort of keep up with the faster drivers in front. Next up was the San Juan Sprint, where I was given a lovely pole position. The number of M5s was also up to 9. By 10% into the race though, Jumpy had already taken my lead away, kind of unsurprisingly I think. I then gradually lost several more places, from generally driving slowly and not very well, until I eventually missed a checkpoint, trying to give space to some of the overtaking cars. This meant a rather terrible 8th place finish. So finally it was off to the Valle del Rio Sprint, which was potentially the most chaotic race so far. There were cars sliding in front of me, cars nearly missing checkpoints, cars hitting walls, and a car braking on the finish line. I still don't really know what happened or if I caused any incidents, but there was a lot of bumping from cars to cars, none of it, I think, aggressive, it just sort of happened and was absolute chaos. But anyway, I ended up with a 7th place finish by the end. These races were complete madness, kind of terrifying at times, and also quite entertaining. But we were getting much more used to the car and enjoying driving it more, so we actually headed into a 3rd set of races after this one. This kicked things off at the Copper Canyon Sprint, which I messed up right at the start, and that was kind of that. The Cathedral Circuit again, where somebody hit the bollards of death instantly, and then an excellent race ensued, although that mostly meant me getting overtaken by everyone gradually, which lasted right up until the finish, by which point I was down in 6th. And the final race was the Descent Dorado Sprint again, which was no less chaotic than any of the other races, where I only managed a 7th place finish in the end. Initially then, none of us were really enjoying the new M5 CS, when downgraded to A-Class. However, as we went into more and more races and got more and more used to driving the thing, it was actually quite enjoyable. With far less understeer than I think we initially thought, it really had some quite good rotation and turn into the corners. Having said that, these races were only really against other M5s, so it's not really the best test of how good this thing actually is, and I kind of suspect in a more normal lobby with varied cars, it won't be one of the best vehicles on track, and probably won't be anywhere near as entertaining to race. That, though, is going to do it for a very first look at the brand new BMW M5 CS here on Forza Horizon 5. For the time being, at least, I have left that A-Class set of downgrades, I suppose technically they are, on the car. From standard, I kind of get why they've added this thing, but to me, it's not really enough of a difference over the regular M5 to warrant needing this as well, although it is an incredibly cool car. I just don't quite see the need to have both. I kind of think that spot in the game would have been better given to another car. But there you go, it is still a cool addition, it is still a new car. It does have some visual modifications which are kind of cool, and the paint options for the front grille and the side strake thing are very, very good. I want to see that on more and more cars, possibly. I really hope that's a sign of what is to come going forwards. Yes, we did have some fun racing it in Horizon Open, but I think that was only really because the lobby was full of other M5s. Although it did drive very nicely, I don't think it's going to be particularly quick. For the time being, though, I will leave the tune on just in case I feel like using it in A-Class at some point, and we'll see what happens going forward. For now, though, that is going to be all, so do let me know your thoughts on this brand new addition to the game. But for today's video, that is going to be all, so thank you very much for watching, and I'll be back with the next one very soon.